Consider a deeply uncomfortable truth that modern society tries desperately to hide from you. There is a massive, dangerous difference between being a good person and being a nice person. Society teaches you from childhood that being nice is the ultimate virtue. You are told to smile when you are uncomfortable, to agree when you secretly object, to swallow your anger, and to put everyone else's comfort above your own emotional sanity. You are promised that if you are nice enough, people will love you, respect you, and treat you with equal fairness. That promise is a complete lie. In the real world, unconditional niceness does not earn respect, it earns exploitation. When you make yourself constantly available, constantly agreeable, and completely incapable of saying no, people do not see a virtuous human being. They see a tool. They see an emotional cushion they can lean on without consequence. They realize that no matter how much they take, cross your boundaries, or disregard your feelings, you will simply smile, swallow the pain, and stay nice. Now, consider the terrifying alternative that most people run into when they finally snap. One day, after years of being taken advantage of, the nice person explodes. They burn their relationships to the ground. They become cold, bitter, cynical, and cruel. They swing from total submission to total hostility, believing that the only way to protect themselves is to become an evil, cold-hearted person. They fall into a classic psychological trap, believing their only options are to be a victim or a monster. Ancient Stoic philosophy offers a third, far more powerful path. Emperor Marcus Aurelius, navigating the betrayals and political snakes of ancient Rome, realized that true virtue requires a backbone of iron. He understood that a man who cannot defend his own boundaries is not a good man, he is merely a weak man acting weak under the banner of virtue. To stop being a pushover, you do not need to become cruel. You do not need to hurt people, manipulate, or lose your human empathy. You simply need to master dangerous kindness. You need to cultivate a mind so well defended and boundaries so clear that people realize touching your perimeter carries an immediate, undeniable psychological cost. In this comprehensive deep dive, we are going to explore the exact mechanics of people-pleasing, why niceness breeds silent resentment, and 9 strategic Stoic principles to help you reclaim your sovereign character without ever becoming evil. Pay close attention to what follows, because continuing down the path of blind niceness will destroy the rest of your life. Section 1. The psychological lie of people-pleasing. Let us strip away the moral excuses and look at people-pleasing through the cold lens of behavioral psychology. When you agree to a request you secretly despise, when you laugh at a joke that disrespects you, or when you apologize for things that were never your fault, why are you actually doing it? Most people tell themselves, I am just being kind. I am just being a good person. This is self-deception. In reality, people-pleasing is almost never driven by pure kindness. It is driven by fear. It is driven by the fear of conflict, the fear of rejection, the fear of being disliked, and an intense anxiety over being viewed as bad. When you act nice out of fear, you are engaged in a covert psychological contract. You are saying to the world, if I bend over backward for you, if I make your life easy, and if I never inconvenience you, then you are obligated to treat me well and accept me. Epictetus saw through this covert contract thousands of years ago. He observed that people who seek validation through agreement become permanent hostages to the approval of strangers. Epictetus wrote, if you ever turn your attention to externals in order to please anyone, be assured that you have ruined your scheme of life. Think about how profound that observation is. The moment your primary motivation becomes keeping other people happy, you forfeit the ability to govern your own life. You hand the steering wheel of your emotional state to every person who walks into your room. If they approve of you, you feel secure. If they act cold, judge you, or express disappointment, your internal world collapses into panic. To break free, you must accept a hard, sobering fact: you cannot build authentic self-respect on the foundation of fear. Kindness that springs from fear is not virtue, it is submission. Real kindness can only come from a person who has the capacity to say no, but chooses to say yes out of genuine goodwill. Until you develop the strength to say no, your yes is completely meaningless. There is a psychological concept that every person seeking self-mastery must internalize: the difference between soft weakness and dangerous kindness. A soft person is nice because they have no other choice. They lack the courage to stand up for themselves, they lack the ability to handle uncomfortable silences, and they lack the spine required to face confrontation. Their niceness is a shield they hide behind to avoid the rough edges of life. A dangerous person, in the Stoic sense, is entirely different. A dangerous person possesses teeth. They have the discipline, the focus, the physical and mental strength, and the unyielding boundaries required to defend themselves and those they care about. They are fully capable of delivering a cold, firm rejection when necessary. Yet, despite having the power to be formidable, they choose to be polite, patient, and constructive. That choice is what makes their kindness dangerous. Seneca written extensively about the strength of character that comes from restraint, noting that a man who is harmless only because he is weak deserves no praise for being peaceful. Seneca observed, "A sword is kept in its sheath not because it is useless, but because the warrior controls when it is drawn." Consider how people perceive these two types of human beings in everyday life. When a soft person agrees to help you, you feel nothing because you know they were too afraid to say no. Their agreement carries zero weight. When a dangerous, highly disciplined person who strictly guards their time agrees to help you, their commitment feels like gold. You know they did not say yes out of fear or obligation. They said yes because they valued you enough to give you a piece of their sovereign life. To stop being a pushover without becoming evil, you must build your internal capacity for strength. Build your body through physical discipline. Build your mind through deep study. Build your financial and emotional independence. Become capable of standing alone, and let your kindness become a deliberate choice rather than a desperate strategy for survival. Section 3. The Stoic Art of Saying No Without Guilt for a Chronic People-Pleaser. Uttering the word no feels like launching a verbal missile. The moment the word leaves their mouth, an intense wave of psychological guilt floods their nervous system. They feel an immediate, overwhelming urge to soften the blow. They start offering long excuses, making up fake obligations, and practically begging the other person to understand why they couldn't help. Notice what happens when you apologize profusely for saying no. You signal to the other person that your refusal was a mistake, an inconvenience, or a personal slight against them. You invite them to negotiate, pressure you, or guilt-trip you into changing your mind. A practicing Stoic views their time, energy, and mental focus as sacred assets. They do not treat their life as a public utility that anyone can tap into at will. Marcus Aurelius wrote a constant reminder to himself in his personal journal regarding the necessity of reducing unnecessary obligations. Because most of what we say and do is not essential, if you eliminate it, you will have more time and more tranquility. Ask yourself at every moment, is this necessary? To master the art of saying no without guilt, you must learn the principle of clean refusal. A clean refusal is brief, polite, firm, and devoid of frantic excuses. You do not need to fabricate an elaborate story about why you cannot attend an event or take on an extra workload. You simply state your position clearly and let the statement land. Practice using clean, immovable phrases, "I won't be able to make it to that." I don't have the capacity to take that on right now. That doesn't align with my priorities at the moment. Notice that none of these sentences contain an apology for having boundaries. You are not being rude, you are not being aggressive, and you are certainly not being evil. You are simply stating a fact about your sovereign time. If the other person responds with anger, coldness, or a guilt trip, recognize that as invaluable psychological data. They are revealing to you that they never respected you as a human being, they only valued what they could extract from you. Their disappointment is not your responsibility to fix. Section 4. Why nice people secretly build resentment here is a dark, hidden psychological reality that most nice people refuse to admit to themselves. Unconditional niceness eventually breeds deep, toxic, bitter resentment. Think about the internal mechanism at work. When you repeatedly say yes when your mind is screaming no, you are betraying yourself. You swallow your true feelings, sacrifice your sleep, give away your money, and overextend your energy to keep someone else comfortable. Because human nature craves balance, a small part of your mind expects that sacrifice to be recognized and rewarded. When the other person accepts your sacrifice casually, without offering praise, gratitude, or equal effort, you feel a sharp pang of betrayal. You begin to harbor quiet anger toward them. You start making sarcastic remarks, engaging in passive-aggressive behavior, or keeping a silent scorecard of all the ways you have suffered for their benefit. The tragic irony is that the other person usually has no idea you are suffering. They simply took you at your word when you smiled and said, "No problem at all. I'm happy to help." You set a trap for yourself, fell into it, and then blamed them for taking what you freely offered. Marcus Aurelius warned against this exact brand of dishonest self-sacrifice, how much trouble he avoids who does not look to see what his neighbor says or does or thinks, but only to what he does himself, that it may be just and pure. Resentment is poison to a Stoic mind. It destroys your clarity, sours your soul, and turns you into a bitter, cynical human being. To prevent resentment from eating your character alive, you must realize that boundless generosity without honesty is merely quiet self-destruction. It is infinitely better to cause a brief moment of uncomfortable disappointment today by setting a clear boundary than to build a mountain of silent hatred that ruins a relationship tomorrow. Truthful boundaries preserve relationships. Fake niceness eventually destroys them. Why are nice people so paralyzed by the prospect of conflict? Because in their minds, conflict is equated with total disaster. They imagine that a single disagreement, a single raised voice, or a single moment of tension will result in the complete destruction of their relationships, their reputation, or their emotional security. They view conflict as an uncontrollable fire that will consume everything in its path. A practicing Stoic views conflict through a completely different lens. A Stoic knows that conflict, when handled with rational calm, is an essential tool for establishing truth, clarity, and mutual respect. Conflict is simply the friction that occurs when two human beings with different boundaries, priorities, and perspectives meet. Seneca taught that dodging every uncomfortable situation does not protect you, it weakens your capacity to handle life. Seneca wrote, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." To stop being terrified of conflict, you must systematically reframe how you process social tension. When tension enters a room, whether it's a difficult conversation with a boss, a disagreement with a partner, or a confrontation with a disrespectful acquaintance, do not rush to extinguish it with cheap apologies or instant surrender. Stand still in the tension. Feel your heart rate rise, observe the discomfort in your chest, and remind yourself, this discomfort will not kill me. It is merely physical energy. Do not raise your voice. Do not launch a personal attack. Do not retreat. State your boundary calmly, answer their points rationally, and let the uncomfortable silence hang in the air. When you discover that you can endure social tension without breaking, your entire relationship with the world changes. You realize that disapproval is not lethal. You realize that people can be upset with you, and the sun will still rise tomorrow. Once you lose your fear of conflict, no one can use your anxiety to force you into submission. Section 6. Establishing the inner perimeter. Imagine a city in ancient times that built no walls, posted no guards, and left its gates wide open day and night. That city could proclaim its peaceful nature to the world all it wanted, but it would inevitably be invaded, looted, and stripped of its wealth by the first wandering army that passed by. A human being without clear boundaries is that exact unfortified city. To stop being a victim of people pleasing without becoming evil, you must construct what Stoics call the inner perimeter. Your inner perimeter is a clear, non-negotiable list of standards regarding how you allow others to treat your time, your emotions, your body, and your dignity. Consider what happens when someone tests a person with clear boundaries. If a friend speaks to them with condescension or disrespect, the boundary-led person does not laugh it off nervously. They do not throw a violent tantrum either. They simply drop the volume of their voice, look the person in the eye, and say calmly, "Do not speak to me in that tone." Notice the absolute precision of that statement. It is not an insult. It is not an emotional attack. It is not evil. It is a clear, rational enforcement of the inner perimeter. Marcus Aurelius practiced this level of clear perimeter control constantly while managing the political chaos of the Roman court. Be like the promontory against which the waves continually break, but it stands firm and tames the fury of the water around it. To build your own iron perimeter, you must identify your non-negotiables today. Decide what level of disrespect you will never ignore again. Decide how much of your private time is reserved strictly for your own work, growth, and family. Once those lines are drawn in stone, defend them without hesitation. When someone attempts to cross your perimeter, deliver an immediate, proportional boundary enforcement. You do not need to be cruel. You simply need to be as firm, unyielding, and permanent as a cliff against the sea. Section 7. The difference between kindness and submission. One of the greatest psychological tricks played on the modern mind is the conflation of submission with virtue. People are trained to believe that taking the high road means absorbing abuse in silence, allowing others to cut in front of them, and accepting unfair treatment with a forgiving smile. They call this turning the other cheek or being the bigger person. In reality, in 90% of cases, being the bigger person is just a high-sounding excuse invented by weak people to justify their cowardice. Let us be completely clear about the psychological distinction. Submission is when you yield your rights, your truth, or your dignity out of fear of the consequences of standing up. It leaves you feeling small, hollow, and ashamed. Kindness is when you possess full authority over your space, but choose to extend grace, help, or patience to someone else because it aligns with your internal moral code. It leaves you feeling grounded, strong, and noble. Epictetus, who spent his early life under the constant threat of physical violence as a slave, understood the sacred line between internal sovereignty and external submission. He noted that while a master could chain his leg, no human being on earth could force his rational mind into submission without his consent. Epictetus said, "You can chain my leg, but not even Zeus can conquer my will." When you are asked to make a sacrifice or compromise in your life, ask yourself this critical question: am I acting out of genuine kindness, or am I submitting out of fear? If the answer is submission, stop immediately, refuse to participate, stand your ground, even if it causes a temporary storm. You are not being evil by refusing to be a carpet for someone else's boots. You are preserving the basic human dignity required to be a truly virtuous person. Section 8. Weaponized politeness. When a person decides to stop being a pushover, their biggest fear is that enforcing their boundaries will make them look crude, aggressive, or unhinged. They worry that standing up for themselves will make them look like the villain in the story. This is where the concept of weaponized politeness becomes your ultimate psychological strategy. Weaponized politeness is the art of delivering an absolute unshakable boundary with such flawless decorum, calm posture, and exquisite manners that the other person has zero ammunition to call you unreasonable. Imagine two different ways of handling an overbearing, rude boss who demands you work through your personal family evening for a non-urgent task. The amateur explodes. They scream, slam their desk, and accuse the boss of being an exploitative tyrant. What happens? The boss ignores the boundary and focuses entirely on the employee's unprofessional, emotional outburst. The employee looks unhinged, and the boss looks like the victim. Now, consider the master of weaponized politeness. They look at the boss with a calm, warm smile, maintain steady eye contact, and say in a quiet, relaxed tone, "I completely understand why this project is important to you. However, I have non-negotiable personal commitments this evening, so I will not be available. I will address this first thing tomorrow morning at 8. The boss tries to push back, offering guilt. A dedicated team member would stay. The practitioner of weaponized politeness does not get angry. They offer a gentle nod and repeat the exact same boundary in an even calmer tone. "I understand your perspective, but my schedule for tonight is set. See you tomorrow morning." Look at what just happened. You offered zero aggression, zero insults, and zero crude language. You were impeccably polite. Yet, your boundary remained as impenetrable as titanium. The boss cannot report you for being rude. They can only fume in silence at the realization that they cannot manipulate you. Weaponized politeness allows you to defend your life with maximum effectiveness, while leaving your moral character completely spotless. Section 9. Reclaiming sovereign character. What does it actually mean to live as a person of sovereign character? It means that your worth is no longer up for public auction. It means you have stopped begging the world for permission to occupy space, stopped apologizing for having human needs, and stopped altering your personality to fit the expectations of every room you enter. A sovereign human being is neither a predator nor a victim. They walk through the world with what the Stoics called apatheia, not a state of cold, unfeeling psychopathy, but a state of profound emotional freedom from irrational passions, fear, and external dependency. Marcus Aurelius described the serenity of a sovereign character in a single, unforgettable passage of his journal: "Be like the star that shines in its own orbit, undisturbed by the darkness around it, seeking no applause from the void, content simply to fulfill its nature." Think about the sheer liberty of that way of existing. When you stop being a desperate people-pleaser, you suddenly reclaim immense amounts of mental energy that were previously wasted on anxiety, social overthinking, and fake smiles. You can pour that reclaimed energy into building real skills, cultivating authentic relationships, mastering your body, and pursuing a life of real purpose. You will lose people along the way. Let them go. The people who drop away when you set boundaries are the exact parasites who are only present to exploit your soft weakness. In their place, you will attract a higher class of human beings, people who respect your boundaries because they possess strong boundaries of their own, people who value your truth over your compliance, and people who want to walk alongside a sovereign character rather than own a slave. Section 10. The sovereign balance in the final evaluation. Stopping being the nice person is not about shedding your humanity, becoming cold-hearted, or treating the world with spite. It is about growing up. It is about stepping out of the childish illusion that the world will treat you gently just because you made yourself harmless. It is about taking full adult responsibility for your own time, your own energy, your own emotional health, and your own destiny. Do not be afraid of losing your reputation for being nice. Trade that cheap, fragile reputation for something infinitely more valuable. A reputation for being honest, unshakable, profoundly kind, and deeply dangerous to cross. Let your yes be a sacred gift, let your no be an iron wall, and let your life be a testament to the quiet power of a sovereign soul. If you are ready to dismantle the trap of people-pleasing and build unshakable boundaries starting today, leave one word in the comment section below. Sovereign. Walk steady. Build in silence. And never apologize for standing your ground.